Alright, you see this right here? We're gonna work with this in today's video. Let me open this real quick. Now this is what we call a sprite sheet. A sprite sheet is an image file that contains multiple smaller graphics, smaller sprites, as you can see. Now these sprites represent animation frames. So basically a single large image that contains all of our sprites. We're gonna need to import this into our project. Alright, we can put this in sprites, but we need to create a new folder for this. Let's call it animations. And now we can place this right here. Now clicking on it, we're gonna change its texture type from default to sprite. Next, we're gonna keep our sprite mode at multiple. Our previous sprites were set to be single sprites. But this time we're gonna make this a multiple sprite. But anyway, let's save this. And then next we're gonna click on this, install 2D sprite package. We need access to the sprite editor window in order to slice up our sprite sheet. So we're gonna install this. Now you can see that we have a pop-up, and this is the sprite editor. We're gonna slice up our sprite sheet in this window. Now in the sprite editor, you can see that at the bottom we have a button called slice. We're gonna click on this and we're gonna go to type and we're gonna click choose grid by cell size. Now we're gonna set these up. Give me a sec. Okay, that works, I think. That looks nice. Now that we set up our pixel sizes, we're gonna slice up our sprite sheet. And finally, we're gonna click apply to save our changes. And there we go. You can see that now our sprite sheet is set to frames, is set to multiple frames, like an animation. Now to start turning these frames into an animation, we're gonna select all of them. We're gonna select all of these sliced sprites, aka the frames, and we're gonna drag them into our scene. Now, with this, Unity will prompt you to create a new anim file, which is pretty much an animation clip. We're gonna call this explosion.anim. Now we're gonna save. There we go. Now, when we start our gameplay, I think this animation should play on awake at the start of the runtime. And it does. So now that we have our explosion animation, we need to make this an prefab. We're gonna go to our prefabs folder. And we're gonna drag it into our prefabs folder. What's this? But anyways, I think that was a false warning. But anyway, now that we have our explosion prefab, we need to start using this. Let's go to our enemy behavior script. Here it is. Now we're going to introduce our explosion prefab to our enemy behavior script. We're going to do that by writing private game object explosion. Let's actually call it explosion prefab instead of explosion. Let's make this public too. Now going back to our editor, let's set this up. There it is. Now we want this explosion animation to play when an enemy object is destroyed. So we're going to go to the onCollisionEnter method. And just as the enemy object is getting destroyed when getting hit by a bullet, we're going to spawn an explosion prefab. I think that's all. Now let's save this and try testing it to see if it's working so far. No. Why is that? Give me a second. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, it is. Never mind. It's just the angles. It is actually working. Let's try this. We're gonna rotate our explosion prefab and try again. No. Oh, right. Because of the quaternion identity. Explosion prefab transform rotation. There. Perfect. Oh. It looks a little bit sloppy, but you know. It's fine for a beginner project. But we need to do another adjustment. Right now, when an enemy object is destroyed, or explosion is going on forever. We want the explosion animation to start, to play once, and then we want our explosion to disappear. Now, how do we do that? For that, we're gonna use a new window. Now let's create a new window. We're gonna go to the window tab right here. Go to animation, the animation category, and add an animation window. Now to open our explosion animation in our animation window, we're gonna double click on our explosion prefab while our animation window is open. Let's zoom out a little bit. Now we want our explosion prefab to disappear in its last frame. So going to its last frame, we're going to create a new event. To do that, we're going to go right here. We have a button right here called Add Event. We're going to click on this. And the cool thing is we can assign functions, aka methods, to these events. So with these you can make it so some functions, some codes happen only at certain frames of an animation. But to assign a function to our event right here, or frame event, we need to first create a new script for explosion prefab. So closing our animation window for now. Let's go to our scripts and create a new one. This is gonna be very simple. We're just gonna create a new method and that's all. Public void. We want it to be public. But anyway, public void destroy self. And destroy game object. We have a function right here, a new function. And now all we need to do is assign this to our frame event. Let's open up our animation window again. You can see that when we click on our frame event, the inspector window pops up, giving us a function slot, an ability to insert a function into our animation event. Now clicking on this, oh, we didn't assign the script. Now going to this, there we go. Explosion methods and destroy self. Click on this. And I think that's all. Now, hopefully, if everything goes well and I don't have any errors, our explosion prefabs should destroy themselves at the animation's last frame. Let's test this out. Ooh, there we go. Our explosion plays and it disappears. But anyway, that's all I wanted to show you in this video. Nothing complicated, just I wanted to show you a basic idea. Give you a little introduction into animations and how to do them. That's all.